The grand chamber of the imperial palace shimmered with golden light, yet it felt colder than a tomb. Nobles in jeweled robes and polished armor filled the hall, whispering like restless vultures circling prey. At the far end sat Empress Era, the blind sovereign of the Varen Empire. Her eyes, clouded and pale, faced forward, unseeing yet unyielding. The crown upon her head gleamed, but in the murmurs of her court, it was treated like a mockery. Today was the bonding ceremony, an ancient ritual designed to unite the Empress with a chosen partner, one who would share her mind, her burdens, and her power. One by one, highborn suitors stepped forward. One by one, they recoiled. She cannot even look upon her empire, sneered a scaled noble, turning away in disdain. A bond with her would shame my house, muttered another. Some did not bother with whispers at all. Their laughter rang openly, a cruel music that echoed across the chamber. Era sat motionless, back straight, chin raised, a mask of composure carved from years of scorn. Inside, however, every refusal cut deeper. Her empire needed unity, yet even here, in her court, no one saw her as worthy. At the edge of the hall, among guards and attendants, stood a man who did not belong. Kale Dorian, a human soldier assigned as a lowly protector, had watched the parade of rejections with growing disgust. When the last noble spat his refusal and the hall roared with cruel laughter, Kale stepped forward. The hall fell silent. Era tilted her head, sensing the shift. Another mockery? She asked, her voice calm but weary. No, Empress, Kale answered, his voice firm though his heart thundered. I'll stand where they will not. I don't see weakness in your blindness. I see strength in how you endure their scorn. Gasps spread like wildfire. The nobles erupted in outrage. A human? A low-born outsider daring to speak before the throne? It was unthinkable. Yet Era did not dismiss him. For the first time that day, the faintest curve touched her lips. The bond had not been chosen, but something unexpected had begun. The palace corridors were hushed at night, lit only by the faint glow of crystalline lanterns. It was here, away from the sneers of the court, that Empress Era summoned Kale Dorian. Guards hesitated but allowed him entry, whispering rumors that spread like wildfire. The blind Empress entertaining a human soldier. Era stood by the window, though she could not see the starlit city sprawling beyond. She turned her pale eyes toward the sound of his footsteps. You are bold, human, she said quietly. Too bold. Do you understand what you've done? By standing in that hall, you've made yourself the enemy of every noble in this empire. Kale bowed slightly, though his tone carried no fear. Then let them hate me. I didn't step forward for their approval. Her brow lifted. Then why? Because someone needed to, Kale replied. You sit on that throne while they laugh, yet not once did you bend. That strength I can respect. For a long moment, silence lingered. Then, to her own surprise, Era laughed. A soft, almost fragile sound that had not left her lips in years. It startled her attendants, who exchanged wide-eyed glances. You're strange, she admitted, amusement weaving through her voice. Every suitor offered flattery or pity. You offer honesty, even sharpness. Kale smirked. I've never been good at bowing or pretty words. But beyond their banter, shadows stirred. Lord Thyros Jyn, the loudest voice against the bond, whispered venom to his allies. The Empress grows fond of the Orfwelder, he hissed. If this continues, she'll claim him before us all. That bond cannot be allowed. Plans of sabotage and assassination began to take root. Era, unaware of the conspiracies forming, began to open herself piece by piece. She confessed her greatest fear, that the bond would never be completed, leaving her empire fractured beyond repair. Kale met her words with steady resolve. If they fear a human standing at your side, then maybe they should. Because I won't step back now. For the first time, the Empress felt a flicker of hope. Alone, she had endured endless isolation. But with this unlikely ally, the night no longer felt so cold. The rumors had spread too far to be ignored. A human soldier daring to stand beside the Empress? To the court, It was not only scandalous, it was dangerous. Lord Thyros Jaywanan seized the moment, his voice booming in the council chamber. If this outsider claims worthiness, let him prove it. By ancient law, no bond may be sealed without a trial. The nobles cheered his words, certain the challenge would destroy the human. Hera, seated on her throne, felt fury coil in her chest. You would risk my empire's stability on bloodsport? She asked, her voice cutting like steel. Jyn smiled thinly. Not bloodsport, majesty, tradition. The decision was forced. At dawn, the trial would begin. The arena was a coliseum of polished stone, filled with nobles eager to see Kale broken. In the center stood the human, clad in light armor, gripping only a staff. Opposite him loomed Jyn's champion, an armored beast of a warrior, muscles rippling, eyes gleaming with cruelty. His weapon was a double-bladed halberd, humming with energy. The Empress, seated above, clenched her hands. Though blind, she felt every vibration of the arena, every heartbeat, every whisper. The gong sounded. The champion struck first, a whirlwind of force meant to crush Kale in a single blow. Kale barely rolled aside, dust exploding beneath him. Laughter erupted from the stands. Pathetic, someone jeered. But Kale did not fight like the others. He did not match strength with strength. He danced, weaving between strikes, forcing the champion to tire. At one point, he smirked and quipped, "You swing that thing like it's compensating for something," earning gasps, and even a stifled laugh from the Empress. Frustrated, the champion lunged recklessly. Kale seized the chance, jamming his staff into a crack in the arena floor, tripping the giant into his own weapon's arc. The halberd tore across his armor, dropping him to his knees. The crowd went silent. Kale stood above the fallen warrior, staff raised for a killing blow. Instead, he lowered it. "I don't need to kill you to prove myself," he said, his voice echoing. The silence shattered into uproar. Some screamed outrage, others awe. But above them all, the Empress rose to her feet. She extended her hand toward Kale. Light flared between them, the ancient bond igniting, undeniable and unbreakable. The glow of the bond still shimmered in the air long after the trial ended. For the first time in years, Empress Hera felt the warmth of strength flowing beside her, not in spite of her blindness, but through it. Yet the court did not see triumph. They saw blasphemy. Whispers turned into shouts. A human bonded to the throne? This is sacrilege. She shames the empire with her weakness. The nobles were no longer content to sneer. Now, they conspired openly. Lord Thyros Jaywanan stood in the center of the uproar, his voice commanding. "This abomination will not stand. She has tainted the bloodline, bound our throne to a mongrel offworlder. If the Empress cannot lead us, then we must replace her." The declaration sent a ripple of shock across the chamber. For centuries, the throne had never been openly challenged. Now rebellion was spoken as if it were law. That night, a banquet was held to celebrate the trial's end, though tension poisoned the air. Hera sat rigid, sensing the hostility. Beside her, Kale remained alert, eyes sweeping every corner. He noticed the way servants moved too quickly, how goblets were filled with trembling hands. Then it happened. A poisoned cup was set before the Empress. Kale's hand shot out, knocking it aside before she could touch it. The liquid hissed as it ate through the stone floor. Gasps spread, nobles leapt to their feet, and in the chaos, Kale dragged the assassin into the open, a servant bearing Jyn's crest. The hall erupted. Some nobles demanded justice for the attempt on their ruler's life, while others argued that the human's presence had provoked it. Hera's voice, sharp as a blade, cut through the noise. "My blindness has never hindered me from hearing betrayal in my halls. Lord Jyn, your treachery reeks." Jyn's eyes gleamed with cold fury. "You call it treachery? I call it salvation. Tomorrow, Empress, your throne burns." He stormed from the hall with half the court following, their banners of loyalty torn from the walls. The empire itself split in two that night, those who stood with their Empress, and those who marched behind Jyn's rebellion. Kale tightened his grip on his blade, leaning closer to Era. They've chosen war. Then we'll answer. The throne room burned with tension as dawn broke over the palace spires. Outside, the banners of rebellion whipped in the wind. Lord Jawanen's forces had surrounded the citadel. Inside, Empress Era stood with her loyalists, the bond's glow faint but steady at her side. Kael Dorian tightened the straps on his armor, his staff resting in his hands like an extension of his will. The great doors shuddered and then burst open. Jawanen strode in, clad in obsidian armor, a blade of energy humming at his side. Behind him marched a tide of soldiers, their faces grim with fanatic loyalty. "Your reign ends today, Empress," Jawanen thundered, his voice echoing through the chamber. "The Empire will not bow to a blind queen and her pet human." Era's chin lifted, pale eyes glowing faintly. "You mistake blindness for weakness, Lord Jyn. And you mistake humanity for servitude." The clash erupted. Steel clashed, energy hummed. Loyal guards fought desperately to hold back Jyn's wave. Kael moved like a storm, weaving through blows, striking with precision born not of brute force but instinct. At his side, Era did not falter. Though her eyes could not see, the bond guided her. She moved as though she could hear the rhythm of every heartbeat, sense every shift in the air. Jyn carved his way forward, roaring with fury. He met Kael at the steps of the throne, their weapons colliding in a shower of sparks. "You are nothing." Jyn spat, pressing down with raw strength. Kael gritted his teeth, sweat burning his eyes. "Funny, for nothing, I'm holding you just fine." With a twist and a feint, he let Jyn's rage drive him off balance. The human struck, not with the staff's end, but with its haft, slamming into Jyn's chest and staggering him back. Era's voice rang like thunder. "This empire does not belong to cruelty." She raised her hand, and through the bond, a surge of power pulsed. Jyn faltered as if struck by an unseen force. Kael seized the moment, disarming him, the enemy's weapon clattering across the floor. Silence fell. Jyn, gasping, knelt, not in respect, but in defeat. His rebellion had broken. The nobles who had doubted now bowed, one after another. The throne no longer seemed fragile, and neither did the Empress. Era turned toward Kael, her voice soft but steady. "They refused me because I could not see. Yet you saw me when no one else did. From this day forward, Kael Dorian, you are not just my bond. You are my strength." Together they stepped onto the balcony. The fires of rebellion dimmed below, but above them, the stars shone brighter than ever.